So just a side note, we had one Twitter mention from Clippers swim team. Shout out to Clippers swim team, which said the most important learning point for me is I know where I am in my learning curve with developing apps. Big deal to me. Big deal for me. Oh, okay, cool. So absolutely, I think also for me, I think listening to Dee that has such a, she sits in this really, really critical position. She's a very important person in on her own with this mobile work that she does, and you could see how much thought comes into every single mobile application. And I want to already throw in and start this conversation from that. Obviously, one of the most intimidating things for a young developer or even a developer that's been developing for a long time is mobile is scary. It's scary because a lot of things are changing. Is Flash dead? If it's not dead, we're going to talk about that later as well. But let's just start with your initial thoughts, gang. What are your thoughts or your experiences when you first started developing for mobile? Because it's so fresh, I'm sure you could remember back to the day where you suddenly thought mobile is important. James, do you have any thoughts about that? Have you been building for mobile?
Not in Flash. I mean, we design kind of HTML websites, kind of ASP.NET backed mobile sites to go along with our standard websites. We tend to keep Flash away from it. They're basically stripped down, reformatted versions of the main website. But it is you do have to kind of rethink the way the whole UI works. It's kind of restrictive, which is nice, but that just getting your head around the fact that people just use it entirely differently. Not only that, that the content they're accessing is different, the information they want to know is different, their attention span is different. Just the whole touch screen and the absence of a mouse just means you approach it. Everything gets approached a little bit differently. Because we work in a fairly narrow sector. 95% of our clients are hotels. We know very much what we're doing with it by now, and we kind of know what people expect from a mobile site and how they expect it to differ from the full website. But moving outside of the comfort zone of where we just we know what we're doing every day. You have to think very hard.
Absolutely. So, by the way, guys, feel free to jump in whenever you want to, because it'll be more fun that way. Let's start fighting with each other, because that's always more fun. Yeah. So I know that I have a lot of
No, it's
opinions
not.
I'd love to fight about. It's more dramatic. People enjoy drama. How about gang? Do you people
Yeah,
in the
go for it.
want us to fight, or do you want us to be all friendly and? I'm kidding. So really, if let's go to Alan or let's go to Alan. And Alan, what is your experience of just more of like just remember your initial struggles. When did you start building for mobile? Let's start from there.
Yeah, I began working with the mobile pretty much as soon as Adobe announced the 4.5 SDK back in, was it 2010 at Max, I believe, or 2009? It was last year at Max, right? Yeah. So as soon as they announced that the Flex Hero and they started talking about it, it was clear to me that they were really much more serious about it. And so when I began really looking at and researching for FTT how we would do our mobile implementation, that's when I really jumped into it. So it's kind of interesting. I probably come at it from a different point of view than some of the other speakers, because for me it was more about how to design a good workflow at it. So I was always kind of looking at like very much a technical aspect of it, what goes into it, like all the different ways that knowing about certificates and how there's difference between different platforms and like all the little subtle details about giving application IDs. And so like you have to really know that description.xml file kind of inside it out to actually know how, when you get ready to submit to different markets. It's really important to know about. So that's kind of my point of view as far as like the technical point of view. I was always checking that out. And I think now it's yeah, go ahead.
I was saying you were lucky in a way because you had a company that basically told you, this is what you have to do. You have to do mobile, and you were working in a company, and you got that background. But speaking like if you now imagine that you didn't get all this learning that you did in the past 2 years, which I'm sure there were a lot of uphill battles throughout it, and you were speaking to a lot of people here that never even built a mobile application, where would you tell them to start from? Obviously, you gave some really great, solid ideas, but most of the people here obviously know Flash or have some love for Flash, or they wouldn't be in this room.
Right. Well, I would definitely say that the place to begin is, and I think Adobe's actually made it simpler for us now that Adobe has discontinued support for the mobile browser version. So now you don't have to think about, okay, how can I translate my, like for example, when James was talking about his hotel projects, you don't have to think, okay, well, we did this really rich desktop experience for this hotel. How can we do the same thing with Flash and provide like a less but still rich experience for mobile? And so it's actually, in some ways, it's been simplified for us. Now we can just say, okay, well, it's obvious now that Adobe wants us to be building more like applications.
Right.
And so that's where you kind of like, go ahead. Yeah.
Clipper Swimmer, I forgot his nickname. 1 second. Clipper Swims. This is too long. Clipper Swim Team. Oh, that's not so bad. Clipper Swim Team. I owe you a gift, so we'll find something from our goodie bag. As you were our Twitter. Hopefully more people will Twitter. So far 2 people got gifts. It'll probably be a T-shirt or a book. You could email our support at everythingaffiliate.com later on through the day, and we could coordinate and figure out where you live and send you your goodie.